Again, Kevin here. Working in my shop, just taking a little break for a snack. And I wanted to get a quick video out. I say it's quick, but sometimes I'm a little long-winded. As many of you know, I'm the camp master over at the Pathfinder School. And one of my duties is basically being the group medic. And I kind of want to talk about being the group medic today. And I'm going to talk about one thing in particular, but being a group medic in general. I'm going to crunch on some chips too, because I'm hungry. Not dinner time yet. Most folks who are assigned as a group medic, in situations like that, if you have a group that you go to the woods with all the time, or you come to a place where you're getting training or things like that. Now, all of the Pathfinder instructors, and myself included, are all required to be wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, certified CPR, and basic life support, and so on and so forth, as a minimum. Now, that doesn't make any of us doctors. It doesn't make any of us nurses, anything like that. But here's what I want to say, is if you are generally group medic, and in a situation like that, unless you've got a very, very formalized group, where you do actually have a medical professional assigned as your group medic, and so on and so forth, most of the times they're not going to be medical professionals. They're not going to do this stuff every day. So I'm going to start a little group medic series, and basically it's going to be building a medical kit for small groups. We get really confused about like I did some videos on the individual first aid kit, the new one, and a lot of people are going, add this, add that, so on and so forth. But what we get confused with is that's an individual first aid kit. It's meant for being able to respond to one person's everyday normal problems, which for the most of us, that's going to be cuts, mechanical injuries, bites and stings, things like that, cuts and scrapes. It's not meant to be a full-blown trauma kit, and quite frankly, I've seen people buy full-blown trauma kits, and the problem with that is most of those things in there, the layperson doesn't know how to use those and can't use them effectively, and would have to actually take some time to read the instructions in a lot of cases, and a lot of times you don't have that luxury. But with that being said, after the bites and the stings and the cuts and so on and so forth, and even including those things, assessment comes into what you have to do the very first thing. If I've got somebody with a cut, there's not a lot of assessment to that. It's one of those, is it bad enough to need stitches, or is it not bad enough where we can bandage that up and it'll close on its own? Can we get the bleeding stopped, so on and so forth, or do they need to go somewhere else? Any of you that have talked to me about first aid, my philosophy is very simple. It's just like everything else that we tend to overthink. There are basically three parts to first aid, and that's plug the leaks. That's do I have anything coming out of me that shouldn't be coming out of me? Okay, that's a cut and I'm bleeding, a hole where I'm blowing air out where I'm not supposed to be. That's a serious wound, but you may have to take care of something like that if it ever happens. But basically, plug the leaks, make sure the pumps are started and running right. That's your heart and your lungs, so on and so forth. And get them stabilized and packaged and ready to go to the next level of care, because you're probably not going to be able to take care of everything, be perfectly honest with you. So, with that being said, assessment. One of the first things that we have to do all the time over at the school is we get a lot of dehydration injuries and heat injuries and so on and so forth over there, in addition to the cuts and the bites and the stings and the scrapes and all of those things. And the very first thing I suggest a lot of folks aren't good at getting a pulse and so on and so forth. So it takes a little bit of practice to do it effectively and to do it right every single time. And to be honest with you, some people don't have a good pulse that's easy to find. All right, and then you have to sit there and you have to watch your watch, and you have to get a pulse rate, and you have to do all those kind of things. Something to free you up from that task and to be a little more accurate, I suggest is a pulse oximeter. All right, this does two things for you. It will read the pulse rate, and it will also give you oxygenation of the blood type thing. And basically, it's a big drawn out process, okay, to explain oxygenation of the blood to you. But basically, it's how much oxygen your blood is absorbing from the available oxygen as a percentage, and it does this with light. It's infrared light. Oxygenated hemoglobin cells reflect a different amount of light than non-oxygenated cells, and so that's just a calculation that it does. Okay, percentage of oxygenated hemoglobin versus non-oxygenated hemoglobin, and that gives you your pulse. There gives you your oxygenation rate, which is handy for assessing efficiency of the body. How am I handling? And it's going to indicate breathing and so on and so forth problems. But we don't need to get into any of that stuff. The thing we want to talk about here is the pulse rate, because it will give you a nice quick pulse rate. But there are a couple things I need you to know. This basically shoots infrared and near-infrared light into your blood, into your finger, okay, and it does it through your fingernail, okay. So here's something you have to remember: if you're treating someone with fingernail polish on, this might throw the readings off or might give you zeros. Normal oxygenation rate is between 95 and 100. All right. So with that being said, if you're looking for oxygenation rate, fingernail polishes, things like that can throw you off. But like I said, we're looking for pulse. And these are simple to use. Very, very simple device. Open, stick it in here. It's got a little sensor on the inside there. That's where your fingernail goes. Stick it all the way up in there, let go. Turn it on. Then you want this thing to be stable. All right, you don't want them waving their hands around and doing all those kind of things. I usually have them lay it on their leg or lay it on their chest or lay it on a table, and I just sit there and talk to them for a minute, so on and so forth. That gives this thing time to stabilize and get a good reading. Normal pulse rate for most of the folks is between 60 and 90. If you're looking at someone who's an athlete or so on and so forth, they might be lower. But you're looking for consistency, and basically what we're looking for, if we're worried about someone's pulse rate being off, or they've got some kind of a situation going on that can affect their pulse, you want to get a base reading, and then later, if they're starting to have trouble, you want to see if their pulse is going down, or if it's being or if it's going up, or so on and so forth. And oxygenation rate's kind of important, but for what we're going to do most of the time, really you just want to make sure it's in that normal range of 95 to 100%. So that's basically it. Let's see how I'm doing. 58 pulse rate, 98% oxygenation rate. Not bad, I ain't dying. So, pulse oximeter. Now, a lot of medical professionals are going to go, well, you shouldn't use that because it might not be accurate. Da, 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 da. You're right, it might not be accurate. But somebody who doesn't take a pulse every day might not be accurate. We're talking basics here. We're not talking emergency room level care. We're not talking about trauma center care. We're not talking about any of those things. We're talking about, I'm out in the woods and I need to know what's going on. First one. We'll talk about adding some other stuff to the group medical kit later. And I may get fancy and do this as a Prezi video or something like that. These things turn themselves off. You can't turn them off. Most of them. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your views. Thanks for your support. Hope to see you all in the woods and at the school. Talk to you later. Bye.